Team Grade 4. It's your self-proclaimed favorite mathematics teacher, Miss Aaliyah Brewster. Welcome to another edition of Grade 4 Mathematics. Today's topic is geometry, and we're zooming in on angles. But just in case you're not feeling motivated, remember the words of Paul Halmos. The only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics. So what are you waiting for? Grab a pencil and a notebook. Get settled, we're about to start. To begin today's lesson, we're going to identify what is an angle. An angle is the space, usually measured in degrees, between two intersecting lines. So you know that the angle is the space between two intersecting lines, and that space is measured in degrees. Now let's examine the various parts of an angle. So the two lines that are intersecting are called the arms. Then we have the point where the two arms meet is called the vortex, and the space between the two arms is known as the angle. But why are angles important? Angles are important because they are used in daily lives. Engineers and architects use angles for designs, roads, buildings, and sporting facilities. Athletes use angles to enhance their performance. Carpenters use angles to make chairs, tables, and sofas. There are various types of angles. We have the acute angle, which are all angles that measure less than 90 degrees. Okay, so let's take our arm and try to make an acute angle. So if I were to take my arm, my acute angle would look like this, less than 90 degrees, okay? Good. There's also the right angle, which is measured exactly 90 degrees. So a right angle looks like the letter L. There's also obtuse angle, which are all angles that are greater than 90 but less than 180 degrees. Then there's also straight angle, which is exactly 180 degrees, like a straight line. There's also a reflex angle, which are all angles that are greater than 180 degrees. There's also a full rotation angle, which is exactly 360 degrees. There is also two additional types of angles that we need to discuss. We're going to discuss complementary angles. Complementary angles are pair angles with the sum of 90 degrees. That's right, they're two angles, but when you put them together, they must be equivalent to 90 degrees. For example, looking at the image, we have angle A and angle B. Okay, angle A and angle B, when added together, must equal to 90 degrees. Let's do a practical example. Let's say angle A is 50 degrees and angle B is 40 degrees. 40 plus 50 would give us 90 degrees. So when angle A and B merges, they should create a 90-degree angle. That looks like the letter L. On the other hand, boys and girls, there's supplementary angles. Supplementary angles are pair angles such that the sum of their angles is equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so when we take two supplementary angles and merge them, they must be equivalent to 180 degrees. Let's look at an example. Say we have angle P, which is an acute angle, and angle Q, which is an obtuse angle. When we merge angle P and Q, it's equivalent to 180 degrees. We can say that P and Q are supplementary angles. Okay, boys and girls, now that we know much about angles, it's time for you to try an activity on your own, okay? You're going to calculate the missing angles for number 1 and number 2. Notice number 1, forms a right angle triangle, and there are two angles there. So it's safe to say that those angles are complementary. If you remember what complementary angles are, this should be a breeze. If you look at number 2, the angle that is given and the angle that is missing is equivalent to 180 degrees. They form a supplementary angle. So if you remember what supplementary angle is, this should be a breeze as well. When you're finished working your 2 activities, I'll be back to discuss the answers with you. Welcome back, boys and girls. Did you get it correct? Let's verify. For the first activity, we were asked to calculate the missing angles. For number 1, we know that those 2 angles are equivalent to 90 degrees. It forms a complementary angles. They form complementary angles. Therefore, what we need to do is to subtract 62 degrees, which is the given angle, from 90 degrees to identify what is the size of angle X, or the missing angle. So when we subtract 62 from 90, that would give us 28 degrees. You notice how they write degrees, boys and girls? They have 62 and a small 0 or a small circle above 2. That represent degrees. So you can put that circle, or you spell the entire word degrees, but you cannot write your answer with just the number 28. 28 what? Dogs and cats? No, 28 degrees. With that in mind, let's do number 2. The 2 angles form a straight angle. A straight angle is measured at 180 degrees. Therefore, those 2 angles form supplementary angles. So how do we calculate for X? All we need to do, we're going to subtract 130 from 180. When we do that, we'll arrive at 50 degrees. Okay? So the angle X is measured at 50 degrees. Okay, boys and girls, let's move on to discuss a protractor. What is a protractor? A protractor is actually an instrument for measuring angles, typically in the form of a flat semicircle marked with degrees along a curved edge. So if you look at the protractor that we have there, you notice that it has numbers going right away around. Okay, so it starts from 0 and it goes all the way to 180, right? So it stops at 180 because should you have an angle that goes from 0 to 180, that will be a straight angle. And all straight angles measured at 180 degrees. Right? Now let's try to use a protractor. I would like you to identify the angle that is drawn on the protractor. If you guessed that the angle labeled B is measured 70 degrees, then you are correct. Okay? On the protractor, you can identify that the angle it starts at 0 and it stops at 70. Therefore, the size of that angle is simply 70 degrees. One more activity before we go, boys and girls. Here we're going to match the shape angles to their names and description. Okay, so I want you to take a few minutes to look at that diagram, and then you're going to try to match the angles with their name, their correct name, and their correct description. Okay, and then I'll be back to discuss with you. Did you get all correct? Let's verify your answer. So the first angle is an acute angle. Now, acute angles are described as measuring less than 90 degrees. Okay, good. Now, the second angle is known as a right angle. Right angles are known to be measured exactly 90 degrees. The third angle is known as an obtuse angle, and they are measured between 90 and 180 degrees. And then finally, we have the reflex angle, and reflex angles are measured more than 180 degrees. So if you guessed and you got all of them correct, well done, boys and girls. You deserve a treat for that. However, it is time for us to close our lesson, but I would like to leave you on the note that the only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics. This means that you must continue to practice even though our study time is over. Thank you once again for tuning in, boys and girls. Do take care and goodbye.